Okay, guys, welcome to class again. Week 2, day 2. Let's have a recap of what we talked about yesterday. What did we learn yesterday? Anyone?
Basics, data
Functions. Functions, data types, variables, conditionals. Come on, someone else. Come on. What else? Arguments. Yes, I feel like we need to recap that one. That one was a little bit difficult. I think I rushed through it quickly. We're gonna do that in a second. So these are probably the 4 most important things. Variables. Know that your variables will change, right? The same piece of data can be held in multiple places and in multiple variables. Functions. It's just a sequence of code that behaves differently depending on the argument. Data type, string, number, array, object, a bunch of other ones. Date. Also conditionals. It's where our code branches. And that's where we control the execution. So today we're going to look at HTML and JavaScript and how we can combine them to create web pages that have behavior. You guys can check out this link later. Do you guys all have the tab? Yeah, here it is. That's what it was. And here's some of the common functions that we will call. These functions are going to help us find elements on the page that we need to work with. It could be an input. It could be a button. It could be anything that we want to change. Right? We're gonna get element by ID, get elements by class name. You can inspect an element. This helps you out in the console. You guys gotta get familiar with the console, okay? Get familiar with it. Get to know your hotkeys. I saw someone share a console shortcut video. Phil? Yeah, you guys gotta get used to using your console. It's gonna give you a lot of debugging information so that you guys can work better. When we get to Rack, we'll be discussing this more in depth. Click, hover, mouse over. These are just different types of actions or events. That's what they're called. They're called events. Different types of events that can occur. A user can click something, and then we want something to happen. Can someone give me an example of something we might want to have happen if we click something?
Change color.
Yeah, we can change the color of something. We can change the background color. Another example, anyone? Resize something? Okay. One more. Open a tab, exactly. Yeah, so these are good examples. There's a bunch of stuff we can do with the click, man. Just a click. Bunch of stuff we can do. Okay, so this is a note on JavaScript frameworks. Does anyone here know what a framework is? A framework is just a collection of code that is expected to be used a certain way. If we don't use it a certain way, then it's not going to do what we think it will do. We believe it can do. Next week, we'll focus on just JavaScript. But this will prepare you to build mobile apps. That code that I sent you guys of mobile apps, like the mapping one and the icons that slide, that's just more advanced JavaScript. So if you guys get a good feel for JavaScript, moving on to building mobile apps is going to be really easy for you. Well, you gotta know JavaScript, and you gotta know Flexbox. Yeah. Okay, so just to make sure that everyone's clear, why are we starting here? We need to have strong fundamentals because although we're going to be starting with React, which is actually my favorite, there are other JavaScript libraries out there, right? Who here has heard of React before coming to class? Anyone? Anyone? So you probably never heard of Vue, Ember. So just know that these are all libraries that are with the objective of doing the exact same thing, just making front end work easier. It makes doing your front end much easier. I can show you one here in a little bit if you guys want. You guys also might run into jQuery, depending on what company you're working at. Because like I said, guys, there is something called legacy code that was written 10 years ago. And as a business owner, like devs want to work with the newest thing that will get them the highest salary, the most popular right now. But you also want to save your company money. So like if the code works and it's using jQuery, you guys might run into it. It's no longer as popular, and we're not going to be talking about it. Do you guys remember me showing you animate.css yesterday? Yeah? Yeah, what was animate.css do? What did it do? Animate CSS.
The animation is done by the CS.
Yeah? Animate CSS is a library. This library will help you do things and make them look beautiful. They have all these animations ready built for you. All you gotta do is plug it in. Just like Bootstrap. You plug in something and then like you change an attribute. You know how in your HTML elements you have ID, you have style. What's another one? HTML attributes. I forgot them all, honestly. There's our href tag. God, I haven't done HTML forever. Right? We have the href right here. There's a whole bunch of different attributes that we can assign to, there's a type, right? Type right here. These are attributes to our HTML elements. And just like we assigned attributes to HTML elements for, for various things, we can also do the same thing to get animations. Just think of it that way. Okay, so that was our last slide. All right, so we're gonna jump back in quickly to examples. I felt like we had a little bit of trouble yesterday, so I'm gonna ask you guys to help me out, and we're gonna write some code. Okay, guys. I want to assign a variable called top student, okay? And this variable is gonna be constant because when you're on top, you're on top. Nah, that's not true. Let's make it a let. Okay, top student. Who wants to be top student? Who wants to be top student? Come on. Come on, you guys don't want to be on top? Come on, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong with wanting to be the best. Come on. I want to be the best at what I do.
Sure.
Okay, Ray's top student. So guys, we have some data now, right? Ray. And I want us to be able to write a function which will say Ray is top student. Can someone help me do this? I need a function that will, when I call this function, will say Ray is the top student. Come on, guys, come on. We did this yesterday. I need to hear more from you guys. Okay, so we'll write function. So we can name the function anything we want. Typically, we want to choose abstract names so that they can be used more than once. And I'm going to show you what the problem is. So I'm going to say hello to top student. And this is the name of my function. Okay? Here's the body of the function. Remember, we open and close the body, the code that will execute in the function when we call it with curly braces. Okay? So now we're just going to say console.log hello Ray. Will this work, guys?
Well, that's what you mentioned, like the console log and
That's okay. I'm trying to keep this example as simple as I can right now. I'm going to show. We're gonna make it more complicated. We're going to add different things that need to occur with this, and then we're going to show it. So right now, if I press play, will this say hello Ray to the screen right here, guys?
No.
No? Okay, yeah. Why is that? Exactly. I haven't called it yet. I was about to make that mistake. I thought it was going to run. So I need to call it now. So okay, let me do the example. I press play. We don't see anything console log. That's because although we define this function, the code on line 9 does not execute because we have not called the function yet. Okay? I know for some of you this may be like kind of boring. We already talked about this, but I want to make sure we understand this fundamental concept that when we define a function, the code does not execute until we call it. Okay? So I called it on line 12. I press play. Now we see hello Ray. So now let's just say a week has passed, right? A week has passed. Ray hasn't been going to class. He's no longer our top student. So we say our top student is now equal to An, right? If I want to call this function again and not have to write the exact same code again, I can just call the function again, right? Like on line 17. Right, guys? But what will the problem be? Watch. If I click play, it says hello Ray twice. No, it has nothing to do with the variable at this point. The function is hard coded. The function does not take an argument. It will always say hello Ray, because I have not passed any data to this function. It will never ever say anything different. I can call this a million times and it will always say something, the exact same thing. Okay, let's put it that way. Does that make sense? Does everyone understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So now I want this function to be smarter. I want it to behave differently depending on who the top student is. Right? So I'm going to change the function. This is called refactoring. I'm going to change the function and rewrite it so that it can behave much more intelligently. So I'm going to say, instead of hard coding console.log hello Ray, I'm going to pass hello top student a name. I'm going to use this top student in my console log. I'm going to say hello, use string interpolation, and then say name. If I run it now, will this work?
Yes.
It will work, but it won't be correct. It kind of work. Okay, it's not going to throw an error, but it's not going to do what we expect it to do. Why? I did. No. Exactly. I need to pass the function an argument. Do you see how on line 5 and on line 9, when I call the function, I don't give it a name. I don't give it a name right here. Right here in the parentheses. And this is where we pass the argument to the function. Okay? So right now, I'm going to put in Loy. Right? If I press play, will this work correctly?
Who you want to call?
What do you mean?
Who you want to say hello to Ray or Lloyd?
I want to say hello to my top student. Because right now the name is called say hello to top student. So my top student is Ray. If I press play now, will it work correctly?
No.
Why? Exactly. Because I'm hard coding this. This value is not correct. So this is a very common pattern. You're gonna call a function, right? We're gonna call a function, or we're gonna set a variable somehow. We're gonna set a variable. It can be from a function. It can be from something else. There's a million different ways this can happen. And when I take this variable, I'm going to pass it to my function. Does that make sense? Because Ray is defined on line 5 as the top student. And then on line 7, I call say hello to top student, and I pass it this variable. So top student becomes name, and then the console logs hello name. Does that make sense? Yeah? So I press play. It works.
Why wouldn't you just replace the name up there with top student?
Because right now, this is a very simple example. Right now, right? There's something called scoping. Scoping a function. Your variables may not always be available to you because you don't want them we don't want them available all over our application. Applications that get complicated, there's going to be a ton of variables. Just put it that way. And there needs to be some way of limiting the scope of our variables, which means you can't access the variable from everywhere in the application, because if you do that, you have all types of problems, right? And you can see an example of this, right? On line 1. This name right here, where is this accessible? Where can I access this? Only between these curly braces. Anywhere else, name will be undefined.
And that is the scope, right?
Yes, the scope is anywhere between. The scopes change, right? But in this case, in this function call, the scope is limited to just the curly braces. And this helps you be able to use a name variable in more than one place. Because when you guys write complicated applications, you're gonna see that you use name everywhere. It's a very, let's look at Facebook. Look how many, if you look at your screen, how many different places on the page you use your name? Lloyd's right here, Lloyd's right here, Lloyd's right here. And these are different parts of the application that have, the access to a variable probably called name. It's probably not name, it's like first name or something. But you understand what I'm saying, right? You guys with me? You can't have all your variables accessible everywhere. It's just like a impossible task. It'll make your life more difficult. Okay, so now my top student, after An becomes a top student, I say hello. It says hello Ray, and then hello An. Does everyone understand how this works? In a little bit, man, I'm gonna ask you guys to write some functions. I'm gonna want you guys to do this. And I'm not gonna show you code. I'm just gonna talk about it like we're talking about right now. Write a function, give it an argument. What data type is this argument? Give it a second argument. These are concepts that we're gonna talk about again and again and again, and they're gonna get more complicated. Because we can have default arguments. It just gets way more complicated, just like Bootstrap. Okay, so what was the last thing? Damn, dude, I lost my train of thought. We were just talking about REPL. Who here completed the assignment yesterday? Every single language, like in instructions. You completed it? No? Or was that Lot? Remember the currency converter? Did you guys all complete that? You can change it to every single language, right? Okay, because in a little bit we're going to be using that in conjunction with the web page. Okay, we're going to create buttons. And the buttons, you can click it and all types of stuff. And it's gonna get more complicated. Okay, so lastly, what Phil said a second ago, not to use console.log in the body. I just did this because I try to make it as simple as possible. But normally what we want to do, guys, with data is we want to pass it around. We want to call a function, get some data, and then use that data somewhere else. So our functions, typically, we want to return something from it, right? So I'm going to do hello Ray. Oops. Hello name, right? So now, when I call this and it returns, I can now have something on my left. Top student, hello, week 1, right? Because when this function is called on line 8, say hello to top student, right? On line 2, what do we do?
That's what it returns.
Yes. On line 2, we return what? Tell me what data do we return? Line 2. What type of data?
Line 8.
On line 2, what do we return? Huh? We return a string. So when line 2 executes the first time, right? What will be inside of top student hello week 1? Once I call function say hello to top student, right? What will be inside of top student hello week 1?
Hello Ray.
Correct. Hello way. Correct. So now this is where I should typically console.log. So I say first hello top student. And then let's just look at it. Top student hello week 1. So if I run it, I can see the first hello top student. Did I do this right? Should say hello. Oh yeah, I did it right. It's because I removed the console log. Yeah. Okay. So this string right here that was evaluated, this string right here that we concatenated and we added the name. Where does name on line 2 come from, guys?
The name from line 1.
It comes from name on line 1. What is name on line 1? What's it called in programming? What is name on line 1? It's an argument. It's an argument to the function. Why is this useful? Because the function will behave differently. Remember, just a few moments ago, if I did this right here, what would happen? What would happen to stop student over here? It would always say Ray. So you guys can see that the argument name on line 1 actually affects how this function will behave, right? Because if the name argument is different, then the string that is returned will in fact be different. I'm sorry, guys. I know if some of you guys are bored, I'm sorry, but this is super important. Okay? Okay, so all right, that was a bit of a review. I don't know if I should show you guys this yet. Okay, so we're moving super fast. Do you guys have any questions so far? I feel like I've talked a lot. I've talked for 30 minutes. Come on, give me some questions. Okay, can you guys read through these right here? Just read through these briefly, the library right here, so that you guys can be prepared for the afternoon's assignments. Because in the afternoon assignment, I'm going to walk around just like yesterday and giving you guys pointers and helping you guys debug your code. But I want you guys to just go ahead and briefly get an introduction into what you'll be doing by reading this, and that way you guys have some foundation to work off of, okay? Any questions? Okay.